Okay. What did you guys see? I say again? Yeah, it was conditioning. I mean, it's up there, but Dad gave him this advice. Do you think it impacted the kid? Yes. What does it mean to impress? What does it mean to impress? What's an impression? Come on. We got to fly, huh?
To push something into someone.
Give me more. He's right. Give me more. Think about an impression. What's an impression? Because I'm going somewhere with the sex, how you've been impressed upon with sex. Go ahead. Molding, that's a good word.
Lasting representation.
A lasting representation or a mark. All of us have been impressed upon sexually. All right, go ahead. I'll get to that in just a second. So basically, anyone in here not had Play-Doh as a kid? We've all seen Play-Doh, yeah? Anybody not had Play-Doh? And so you roll that thing around, whatever, and you can take your fist and just hit that, and then you take your fist out. What'd you leave? An impression, a mark. My point here is that where sex is concerned, all of us have been impressed upon some way, some form, some fashion. You have to ask yourself when that impression was made. Was it a positive impression? Was it a negative impression? Was God a part of it? And things like this. He brought up imprinting. This whole thing is imprinting, and one of the most powerful things that happens. Who knows what imprinting is? What is imprinting? Go.
It's when something happens to you, or like, it's a good example in animals, like the first, in some species of animals, the first animal they see, that's their mother.
Yeah.
And they'll follow that wherever they go. So.
There's an imprinting that occurs when ducklings are hatched. And the handlers have to be very careful. They dress up in these big old chicken suits and bird suits and whatnot. And they have to be very careful because when they hatch and they open up their eyes, the first thing they see, they imprint upon, and that becomes mama. And they'll follow that thing for the rest of their life. It could be a cow. It could be a dog. It could be a squirrel. It doesn't matter. They'll imprint. And that's their frame of reference now. What does this have to do with sex? The standard, most of us, there was an imprinting that occurred. And the way God created sex, he created sex to imprint on a very, very deep level. And when the problem is, and hear me closely on this, because this is all foundational. The problem is when we imprint on something, most of our imprinting was incorrect. And particularly guys, you were taught about sex and you were taught about, vagina, penis, breast, sex. You were taught all this stuff and you imprinted on an act. That's all you did. You didn't imprint on the girl. You're supposed to imprint on the girl, but you just imprinted on the act. And so you've been set up now for the rest of your sexual future. All you know is you're connected to the act. Can you see the problem with this? If this is true what I'm saying and you're just connected to an act, how do you treat girls? Totally like an object. It's not about the girl, it's just the act. But what happens when you learn and understand that I was supposed to imprint on the girl? What happens now?
Treat her the way that she's supposed to.
Yeah, and then the sex is great. I just saw this podcast, a clip of a podcast. It's Fresh and Fit, Myron, whatever his Gaines or something like that. And his argument in like a little 2-minute clip, his argument was like, men, when you get married, and if you guys listen to Andrew Tate, if you guys listen to Fresh and Fit, and what's the other one? Whatever. A lot of it's not Christian advice. You're going to take a test here in a moment. You're going to fail this test. It's a funny test, but you're going to fail. Anyway, the premise, this is what Myron Gaines, I think that's his name. This is what he said. He said, he's talking to this whole panel of bozo women, and the guys are bozo men, and he says, there's nothing good for men in a marriage. Because if a woman gets married, she benefits everything because she can get a divorce and she takes half and she gets the kids and the man's life is screwed. So it's risk for a man. And he said, there's no benefit. And he said, let's play a game. Name me one benefit that a man can get coming into a marriage. And they were all like, there are none. And they all agreed, there are no benefits. Bunch of idiots. What are the benefits? I can ask you. I posted this on Facebook, and I listed right off the top of my head about 12 benefits. What are they?
Emotional support.
Emotional support? I'll give you some of that, yeah. Go ahead. Family? Do I have to get married to have a family? Is there a difference between a married family and a separate? Oh, yeah, there's a huge difference. What about, I don't want to give away too many answers right now. All right, so I'm just letting you know there's a lot of ignorance out there about sex because we've been imprinted upon. A lot of stuff that you guys have taught and learned out through your entire life, you're going to find out when we do the sex test, you're going to find out that, you know what, I've been lied to. Proverbs 4:23, everybody put your finger on your heart. Quickly, put your finger on your heart. Many of you initially go like this every single time. Many of you go like this. And when more often than not, when the Bible talks about a heart, it's talking about this right here. Put your finger on your heart. And the Bible says, guard this. It's talking about your soul, not just your brain. That's just an organ. It's talking about your soul. Guard this with all diligence. Because pollution in, pollution out. Right? Word of God, solution. Solution in, solution out. So whatever's going on up here is going to manifest in your life. Got it? Wow. I'm really flying through this because I got to get somewhere. Just know this. We can't go to these scriptures, but both these scriptures refer to the two shall become one. The two shall become one. The two shall become one. What does that mean? Give me some words for the two shall become one. What does that mean? Uniting. That's a good word. Uniting. The two, when you have sex, they unite. Give me more. Bond. Big one. Bond. Cleave. Huge. Cleave. To cleave, it means to like embrace and hold on to it. What about fuse? What about join? What about marry? This is how God designed sex. God designed sex. When you participate in sex, whether it's masturbation, multiple partners, whether it's marriage, whatever you do with your sexuality, it's in the act of sex. There's a marriage that occurs. You're married, and most of us, our marriages are not godly. I'm not talking about that legal stuff or that ceremonial stuff. I'm talking about the physical act and the stuff that goes on up here. There's marriages that occur. I'll get to this. You'll see. 1 + 1 = 1. It's right there. That's the answer. So check this out. Just so you know, again, I'm going to be flying through this because I got a lot of ground to cover. This is basically where God created mankind, and he created the man and woman in his image, and he told them, be fruitful and have dominion. This right here, 1 Thessalonians 4, says, this is the will of God, that you should abstain from fornication, that you would be able to know how to possess your own body in a way that's holy and honorable and pleasing to the Lord. It's telling you, be in possession of your body. A lot of us, we can't stop masturbating. I've tried, I'm losing. I can't stop booty calls. I can't stop lusting. And you know, there's this thing now, there's this lie going around now that body counts don't matter. Oh, they totally matter. I'll get to this. So basically, Genesis 1:26, it says, be fruitful, have dominion. Be fruitful and have dominion. Basically, it's saying, be fruitful, have babies, and have dominion. Rule well. That's what it's talking about. And so if I had to just summarize this, it's saying that the degree to which your sexuality is intact and disciplined is the degree to which you're going to rule well. If your sexuality is not intact, you're going to fail. Sexually speaking, maritally speaking, you're going to fail. Hang around. I'm going to back this up as we go along. That's a huge... For me to throw that contention at you that you're going to fail if your sexuality is not intact, I got to back that up. Scripture will back that up. Watch. Okay, everybody get your Bible. Go to Deuteronomy 23. Get a Bible. It's in the Pentateuch. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It's the 5th book in your Bible. Help your neighbor. Look left and right. Help your neighbor close in on that. Look left and right. Look behind you. Look in front of you, because sometimes people cheat. You ever known them guys who actually just open up a Bible and they're not there? They're just faking it? Not you guys, but them other people. All them other people. Okay. Is everybody there? Everybody look around. I hear some pages turning. Deuteronomy 23. I'm going to read verses 1 and 2 because I just said rule well. No, Julian. Take your time, Julian. It's like only 5 books in the Bible. Okay, we there? Chapter 23, verses 1 and 2. I'm going to read this. He says, verse 1, he that is wounded in the stones or hath his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. And then, okay, number 2, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. What's this saying in a nutshell? That's not a pun either. Nutshell. He that is, okay, what is that? He that is wounded in the stones. What does that mean? What are our stones? What are our stones? Testicles. That's what that means. Whoever's wounded in the stones or has his privy member cut off, what's that? His penis, his sexual organ. Maybe you were in combat. Maybe you sustained an injury. He's saying basically, if you were a soldier and your sexuality was not physically intact, you could not come into the congregation of the Lord. What's the principle here? Today, the principle is still true. If your sexuality is not intact, it's going to be difficult to really commune with the Lord. Oh, it will compete. Matter of fact, if you really want to know the truth about it, out of all the sins in the Bible, there's only one that God gives. It's such a huge thing, a huge issue that God says, I give you permission to run from that sin. Sexual sins. I know 3 or 4 places in the Bible where God says, flee fornication. Do not commit adultery. So he gives us permission to run from sexual stuff. All other sins, man up, stand up, face it. Right? And so he's saying, he that is wounded in the stones or had this private member cut off cannot enter into the congregation of the Lord. Again, the degree to which you are disciplined in your sexuality is the degree to which you're going to rule well. All right? And then, I'll just leave that alone right there. Let's move on. Believe it or not, I'm going to try to get 3 classes done tonight. These are all the classes right here. Part 1, we're going to take a sex test in a minute. We should be able to get sex and anatomy done tonight. And hopefully I'll get some of this sex and soul done. And then next week, maybe even Saturday, I'll knock out sex and spirit and sex and restoration. Everyone, when they go through these classes, they want to know this part right here. Everyone's convicted. I'm guilty. I'm convicted. I repent. How do I fix it? How do I change? Everyone wants to know that. That's fine. We'll get there. Okay, you guys ready to take the sex test? Now, some of you, if you know the answers, don't say anything. All right? So, I'm giving you all the heads up right now. There's 16 questions, and they're all curveball questions. I'm telling you right now, I'm throwing you curves. All right? So, first question. What do you know about sex? Question. What do you know about sex? Teach me. What do you know about sex? Oh, handsome self. You don't know too much? You know too much. Dude, I got to get my notepad now. Okay, now imagine I'm a 14-year-old kid, and I have a 14-year-old girlfriend. And we're going to do it because we love each other so much. We're going to take it to the next level of intimacy. And you say you know a lot, right? So I need some notes, man. Hook a brother up. Ha-boo.
Well, what do you want me to say?
I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to do something.
Don't do it.
What do you mean don't do it?
Don't do it.
Why not?
Because you're only 14.
Did you do it? Hypocrite? Hypocrite? Look, I just need some answers because we're going to do it. You going to help me or not? You're not going to help me? Man, okay, who's got some advice for me? I've done this in conferences, and you should see some people climb up, especially the senior staff NCOs and officers. They climb up, and they look at me like, you better not ask me this question. You better not, because they don't have an answer. Go ahead, quickly.
You can't go back once you do it, so be very careful.
That's cool. No. We're not going back. I love her. What's that, right? Partner for life? What's that called? Ride or die? That's my ride or die.
If you really love her, then
I love her, no cap.
you don't mind waiting.
For real. On God, I love her. What?
You won't mind waiting for marriage if you do love her.
Did you wait?
Maybe.
No, whatever. Just kiss her a little bit? Foreplay? And I've had Marines, just fast forward a little bit, I've had Marines in here say some things like, well, first of all, you got to spin that record. And I promise you, I did not know what that was. And this Marine was sitting back there. I said, what does that mean? He says, you moistened up your finger and you touch her. I said, oh, you mean fondle her. Okay, spin that record. And then basically the best information I can get from people, because none of y'all really answered this question, the best information I get from people is do it responsibly, use a condom, and that's basically it. I had one guy say, make sure you please her first. Right? And so what I forgot to tell you guys, though, in this scenario, this hypothetical, this 14-year-old is your daughter. So just kiss her, you say? Just kiss on her? Spin that record? Can I have your 14-year-old daughter?
No.
What, you're going to stop me from doing that?
I mean, probably not.
You should. You should. Dude, so this is my point. A lot of people, none of y'all got that one.
Oh, well.
None of you got this one, okay? You used to see people, I'm telling you, I've been to some conferences here, and the best they'll say is, do it responsibly. I did a conference on Kadena. It was a SAPR conference a few years ago, and they brought in Navy security personnel. And there's probably 200, 250 sailors in there. They're all policemen, though. And, dude, they started this class with 15 minutes of NCIS and CID. I don't know if they still call them that. Yeah, criminal investigative stuff. Anyway, they came in, and the agent said, I got 15 minutes to tell you what's up. They said, first of all, who's being more sexually assaulted, men or women? What do you guys think? Men, without a shadow of a doubt. He said of all sexual assaults, 75% of them are against men. Only 25% are against women. So men are getting sexually assaulted. And then he said, where sex is concerned, and the bottom line is, he said, where sex is concerned, even if you got a notary public and they stamped consent and she signed consent and you got that and you're in the act of getting jiggy and she says, stop, it's over. That notarized letter you have means nothing. As soon as she says stop, it's over. And a lot of, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people can't stop. Once you get that fire going, and then all kind of stuff goes crazy after that if she says stop. Man. And moving on. Question number 2. Is there a lot of information out there about sex? She says yes. Where's it at? Where's it at? Movies. Where else? Magazines, porn, internet, songs, commercials, advertisements. It's everywhere. All over your phone, social media, yeah? See, show of hands. Well, I already know. You guys said yes. No, that's wrong. If you said yes to that question, is there a lot of information out there about sex? You missed it. Because that's not information. That's misinformation. I think, did you say that? It's misinformation. I told you these are all curveball questions. I promise you, in my years of life and just years of ministry here on Okinawa, 99% of everything I see out there on AFN or on the radio or on Netflix or whatever, it's misinformation where sex is concerned. It's just flat out wrong. If it's not God approved, it's wrong. Check this out. Who created sex? 2-part question. And who did he create it for? Now, let's just assume, so we can fast forward, we all agree that God created sex. So you get half a point for that. Who did he create sex for? Antonio. Who did God create sex for?
Both, like female and man.
For who?
For both, for the couple.
For just men and women? Not quite, but yeah, somewhat. Who did God create sex for? Did you know this?
For a man and a woman.
For a man and woman. What about animals? Can animals? Side note, there's a difference between humankind and animal kind. I always have to say this because we have people in here who think that we're all animals. You are not an animal. God didn't say you were animal. There were animal kind and there's mankind. Having said that, can animals have sex? So I guess God created for animals too, yeah? But more specifically, who did God create sex for? Marriage. I'd say that's a good answer, but not necessarily, I know a lot of Christian couples, chaplains, and pastors who have terrible marriages where sex is concerned. I have a pastor friend years ago. He's gone on to be with the Lord years ago, but he went through this. He would have relations with his wife, but he had a porn magazine on her pillow right next to her head. And he said, I need extra stimulation. So just because you're married and just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're going to have God-approved sex. Okay, bottom line, since you guys aren't really getting this, God created sex for people who know Him. People who know Him. Now, can we figure it out? I don't know God. Can I figure out sex? Yeah. But you'll never know the fullness of it until you get the Word of God in there. And you're going to find out when we go through anatomies, that's why it's shaped like that. That's why it's called that. That's what that's for? Yep. Anytime you don't know the purpose of a thing, you automatically abuse it. These are principles of production. So if you don't know the purpose of your sexual organ, I promise you, you're abusing it. You see how quiet it gets? It gets quiet in here sometimes. All right, so God created sex for people who know Him. Now, can you have sex without knowing God? Of course. But like I said, when you know God, then you understand what His intentions were with the design of her breasts, of her hymen, the testicles, the foreskin, the blood, the erection. All of this is in the Bible. It's all godly. Watch this. You guys aren't doing too good. Generally speaking, do guys like girls? Simple question. Generally speaking, do guys like girls? Generally speaking, do guys like girls? Generally speaking, do guys like girls? No! You would think, well, yeah, we like girls because we like girls. No, you don't. You know where's the proof? The proof is if guys really liked girls, why do we treat them the way we treat them? We use them as sexual objects. We don't like girls. Who do we really like? I like me, which is why I'm horny, so I got to use you for this. We don't like girls. I told you, curveball questions. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, porn. Raise your hand in here if you've not watched porn in your life. Nice and high. Yeah, okay. Maybe we should define what porn is. What is porn? Because I guarantee you, all of you have seen porn. It's not necessarily, that triple X rated website that you go to. Porn is literally porn and graph, compound word. And this comes from the Bible, porn and graph. And I'll get to this if I get to the porn series. But porn and graph. Porn, it means porneia. Greek word, it means fornication. It means deviant, illicit, lewd, sinful sex. Graph is pictures or images. So put it together. Pictures and images of lewd, deviant, sinful, wanton sex. And we've all seen it. We've seen nudity. We've seen commercials. We've seen music videos. You've seen porn. My question was, how many of you have not seen porn this year? How many of you have not seen porn since April? I know some of you are cringing like, oh, he's getting closer. Because I say, how many of you saw porn just yesterday? Don't raise your hands. We'll get. All right. So guys don't like girls. Because if we like girls, we wouldn't be watching porn. We don't like girls. We like self. We like flesh. Okay? What are your thoughts about a threesome? Come on, baby. What are your thoughts about a threesome? Thoughts about a threesome? What are your thoughts about a threesome? It's immoral? Thoughts about a threesome? Oh, stop it. Thoughts about a threesome. Do you know this? Thoughts about a threesome? Oh, stop it. Stop it. Thoughts about a threesome? He said he don't want to think about it. Listen. Most people think about a threesome. RP's back there smiling, laughing. Most people, they think about a threesome. What if I told you that the Bible supports threesomes? No. I've had people, particularly men were like, what? Show me that, pastor. Show me that, pastor. Show me that. And I said, wait, let me clarify. Curveball, remember? The threesome I'm talking about is you, your spouse, and God. Which one were you talking about? Because you said it's unholy. Who said immoral? You said it's immoral. Which one did you think I was talking about? Which one did you think? You said, I don't want to think about that. Which one were you thinking?
I was thinking 2 women, 1 man.
Girl, guy. Right? See, so this what I'm bringing. What do we know so far about us? Right now, what has been revealed about us so far? We're not that bright. I thought I knew some things about sex. We really don't. Jump in anytime, chaps. Okay. Here's one. What's the best sex you'll ever have?
God approved sex.
Okay, if you know these, you got it. Yeah. Okay. What do most people think initially? What do most people say? He's exactly right, though. I'll get to that in a second. What do most people say? What's the best sex you'll ever have? Most people on UDP, they say post-deployment sex. They can't wait to get back home. And makeup sex. What else?
Honeymoon.
Hate sex? I don't know about that. What?
Revenge sex.
Revenge sex? Wow. One night stand, booty calls. Some people say it's I don't know, makeup sex. Sometimes they say it's virgin sex. It's with the two cheerleader sex. It's with the two hobbits or the two goats sex. They go. You guys already know all the different genres that are out there. Best sex you'll ever have, and none of that is true. The best sex you'll ever have is, go ahead. It's God approved sex, because if it's God approved, it's guilt free. And see, that means, well, wait a minute. Here's another question for you. What percentage of your sexual history is God approved? No, seriously. What do you think? 1% maybe? Maybe 10%? Let's just say 10%. That's being really, really generous. Let's say 10% of my sex in my entire life honored God. Wait a minute. That's only half the story. What does that say about my 90% of sexual history? What does that mean? Sinful. And what do we know about sin? The wages of sin is what? Death. A wage is something you earn. And so if I've been having sinful sex, it's not God approved, I've earned some form of death. I promise you. You know, my wife and I, we've been married, got to do the math again. We got married in 86. How many years, Sandy? 37. This October it's going to be 37 years. Now, I don't have to say this, but I got to say it. We've been intimate a lot in those 30-something years. Yeah? What you need to understand, and I'm not saying dirty or anything like that. What you need to understand, every time that you have sex with someone, it's either godly ties or ungodly ties. And now I'm going to say something here. When we've been together, it's like another knot is tied in our relationship, and it's godly, it's healthy, it's strong. We're fused, we're one. So what do you think after 37 years? 37 years of marriage, just how tight, how bound are we to each other? That's pretty strong, isn't it? However, because I just asked the question, what percentage of your sexual history is not God approved? That means you're bound to everything else. And this is what it looks like. Because most of our sexual history is not with Mrs. Right or Mr. Right. So all my sexual history is right here. It's ungodly. And I'm connected. I'm married to all this ungodly stuff. Now I meet Mrs. Right. Something has to happen. Because if nothing changes, I'm only connected to her 10%, but I'm connected to this 90%. This is bad. This is where marriages fall apart. And so there has to be a divorce from this, a transference from this, disconnect from this and connect to her fully. What happens if I disconnect from all this garbage, all this pollution, and now I'm down here to 5%, but I'm 95% connected to her? Strong marriage? See, most of us, this is us right here, 95% bad connections. And then when we get married, we wonder, well, what's the problem? I don't understand what the problem is. Hopefully I'm connecting enough dots for you. You're going to realize, how do I fix this? Making sense? If I'm going too fast, stop me. Okay, guys, we're not doing too good. What are the three, simple question, 3 fundamental purposes of sex? God created sex with 3 fundamental reasons. Everybody knows, procreation. He said reproduction. That's procreation, that's 1. Pleasure, that's recreation, that's 2. And this is the biggest one. Procreation, recreation. You remember it? Who knows it? Say it. Consummation. What does that mean? Consummation. To consummate, it means, it's a Latin term. It means con, with, sum, to add. So you take two things and you bring them together. When a marriage is consummated in the eyes of God, basically what it's saying is bringing together two things and perfecting what was originally intended. The two become one. Bringing together two things and perfecting what was originally intended. The two become one. One flesh. Is this making sense? Was that too much? Because out of them three reasons, them fundamental reasons, procreation, recreation, consummation is the most important one. All sex marries you. All sex connects you. And the problem is, if my sexual history is really bad, I have these ungodly ties. Making sense? Okay. 3 fundamental levels of sex. We had, I'll never forget this. Female in the brig. She's going through the sex test and she's failing all these questions and she's like, 3 levels, I got this one. And she was just bold about it. She said, the 3 levels of sex are, she said, vaginal, oral, and anal. I was like, yeah, that's not where we were going with that, but, and she just kind of slunk down. She said, okay, let me just be quiet. I'm just going to listen. What are the 3 levels of sex? Every time you've had sex, you've had them on these 3 levels. Marriages occur on all 3 of these levels. Come on, somebody.
Body, soul, spirit.
Body, soul, and spirit. You are a 3-part being. You are a 3-part being. You are fundamentally a spirit. You possess a soul, and you live in a body. You are fundamentally a spirit. You are a spirit being. You possess a soul. Hopefully I'll get to that tonight. You possess a soul. That's your soul. All this feelings, intellect, and your willpower. That's what this is. That's your soul. You are a spirit, you possess a soul, and you live in a body. Every time you've had sex, you're married on them 3 levels. Marriages occur. Again, 90%, 95% of my sex was ungodly. What kind of marriages are those? Destructive. All right. What is adultery? See, everyone throws out the legal definition of adultery. And basically it's sex outside of marriage. Sex outside of marriage. But Jesus, he what did he say adultery was? Go ahead.
Well, I said, whoever look at a woman with lust is committing adultery.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoever looketh upon a woman with lust in his heart, he's committed adultery. Raise your hands in here if you've never lusted after somebody. Whatever. It's adultery. And that's just at the surface. But many of us put it like this. Let me take it a step deeper here. The first time a person has sex, let's say they were 12 years old, 14 years old when they had sex. A marriage occurred at 12 or 14 years old. And now that they're married, they're not in that relationship anymore, but they go on to girlfriend B and girlfriend C and girlfriend D. They're committing adultery because they never were unmarried. Right or wrong?
Right.
Weak or strong? Low, right or Leia? Making sense? I'm really flying through these guys. And stop me if I'm going too fast. Real simple question. What does husband mean? Some of you don't know this. Some of you know this. Don't say anything. You know what a husband is? Okay, on paper, go.
Well, it's like the male role in a marriage.
Male role in a marriage? No. Go ahead, tell him.
I don't know.
You've never seen a husband?
What?
You've never seen a husband?
I've seen one.
Okay, what is it?
Dad do it.
Okay, your dad was a husband. No, my mom and dad and all that husband. What does that mean?
It means he was the head of the household under God.
No.
Okay.
I mean, the literal definition of husband. Go ahead, you had your hand up. Yeah, Juan. Is it Mark? Matthew. I know it's close. What is it? Michael. Oh, so close, man. Michael, what's a husband? Literal definition, because Brad's next.
A wife's spouse.
A what?
A wife's spouse.
A woman's spouse? A wife's spouse. No. Go ahead, tell him, Brad. It's so simple. And when I learned this, I don't know, 15 years ago, it just blew my mind because I didn't know it either. Go ahead, tell him, Brad. Last chance. Nope. Go ahead, Whitney.
So
That's a compound word. Husband. Hus is a German word for house. Band is the thing that holds things together. You guys ever embarked out here, deployed out there? You guys, I don't know if you guys do embark boxes still with the steel stretchers and bands, and you ratchet that thing down. Why do we put the bands on that stuff? Keep it together. Hold it. You take the bands off and ship it, it's going to fall apart. Men are house bands. Now think about this. If you let this sink in and you understand that men are called to be house bands, not women. Men are called to be assigned by God to be the house band, the band of the house. You realize this, you start getting a clue as to why houses are falling, families are falling apart in America today. Because men don't know their responsibilities. Men are abandoning their responsibilities and houses fall apart. This is the mantle of leadership that's placed squarely on our shoulders, men. Make sense? So, matter of fact, these questions, have fun with your friends. Take a picture of this when I'm done with the 12 questions, 16, whatever, 16 questions, and then take a picture of it and go ask your friends because now you're smart. I'm serious. Just ask your people, what's a house band? No one's going to know. If they know, they've probably been to the class. Okay, so check this out. Okay, man, real simple question. What are those two things hanging next to your sexual organ? What do we call them? Come on.
Penis.
Not your penis. He's okay, let me make this real simple. You have a penis. What are those two things that accompany your penis? We call them balls, we call them gonads, we call them huevos, we call them jewels, nuts, we call them cojones, we call them all kinds of things. What's the medical term? Testicles. Now watch. This is going to mess you up. Why are they called testicles? Some of you know this, don't answer it. Why are they called testicles? Wait, how old are you?
20.
You're 20. So for 20 years, your boys been right there. Why are they called testicles? Because I know you know about your boys. You're very acquainted with your boys.
I don't know.
So they're just hanging around. You don't even know what.
Well, I know what they do, but
Why are they called testicles?
I don't know.
Go ahead, tell him. How old are you? 20. He's 22, so he's got these 20-year-old boys. Go ahead. This is real simple stuff, man. Wait, you're a girl. You can't answer this question.
Wow.
Maybe. Do you know the answer?
No.
Okay, wait.
Guess.
Go ahead. You don't know either. Oh my gosh. And most men walk around and they don't know why. Go ahead. What do you think?
Source of testosterone?
Source is testosterone. Now that's a fact, but that's not the answer. Because there is testosterone. Okay. Let me give you a clue. The root word for testicles is testes. This is a root word, Latin word, T-E-S-T-E-S, T-E-S-T-E-S, testes, right? It does not, companion words that we get from this root word, you know, because I said testicles, is testament, testify, testator, testosterone. Well, so what's the root word? What does testes mean?
To witness.
It's exact, say it loud.
To witness.
Testicles means you're witnesses. That's why there's two of them. They're witnesses. Now it gets better. Check this out. If it's true what I'm saying, that your testicles are witnesses, and it is true, what have your testicles witnessed? Sin. What are they supposed to witness? Why are they called testicles?
To witness marriage.
Say it.
You need two witnesses to consummate a marriage or to confirm a marriage.
Yeah, when in wedding ceremonies, whether it's in Las Vegas or the church chapel or whatever, they always have witnesses attesting, and they have people witnessing, yeah, them two got married. That person standing there being a witness to this ceremony is symbolic of the act of sex. The act of sex came first. That's why they came up with the witnesses up there. So and it comes back to this question. What were your testicles supposed to witness? Marriage. That's exactly right. Every time you have sex, it's a marriage that's occurring. And your testicles bear witness to it. See how quiet it is? Making sense? Wait. Have you guys heard this stuff before? Do you guys get this in your training and classes? No. Whatever. I already know better than that, man. Okay. Ladies, let's ask the ladies this question. Ladies, what's the difference between being known and being laid? Because the Bible expresses a difference in these two. Which one's better, ladies? Being known or being laid? What does that mean, to be known? That's the start. Understood. Understand when it says Adam knew Eve. And it says, be still and know that I am God. Same word. It's a Hebrew word. Same word. And basically it means innermost, to know, intimate, face to face. It means face to face. Right? So anytime when you start dealing with face to face conversations, a face to face relationship, it's very intimate, it's personal. That can be awkward face to face. I mean, and so, listen, I'm the kind of guy at a stoplight. If there's a car at the stoplight like this, and I'm pulling up to it, I am not pulling right beside them. That way we can just look at each other all stupid. I don't like that at all. I avoid that. I either way back here or I'll go in front because I don't want to look. And then if they pull up, I get upset and I'll pull up a little more because I don't want to look at you.
I do that.
Same thing on an elevator. Go ahead, Chaplain.
My favorite definition of intimacy is to have an exhaustive understanding of the truth. And so, as you are married and you have sex,
Ooh.
and you know your wife, is to have an exhaustive understanding of her completely.
Yeah. The Bible even says that. Husbands, dwell with your wives according to knowledge. Learn your wife. Study your wife. Explore your wife. Not just sexually, but explore your wife. And so, the difference, being known is like this. It's face to face. It's very, very intimate. And if, in the Greek, there's a word, kaleo. Kaleo. Kaleo, we get the word call. And so, if I called somebody, like, Kirby. Kirby, what's up, Kirby? Kirby, Brandon. And so it's very informal. It's likened to the way you would call a dog or something. This is the way we greet each other. We just say, what's up, Jacob? And we just yell at each other, right? But it's a little bit different when it's kaleo, but then you got proskaleo. What does pros mean? Like prostrate. Now you're just talking about face to face now. They come together face to face. And so to be known means to come together face to face. The reason why I'm stressing this is because so many people, particularly men, you miss this and you avoid the face to face. And you want to just have sex with your wife or your partner like this. You avoid her face. You don't want the face. You just want her body. And this is called being laid. And I'm going to tell you right now, she needs the face-to-face and you need the face-to-face. For the record, that's okay too. All right, because some of you are like, are we going to do a missionary? I didn't say that. I'll get to what's permissible in sex at the last class, right? And woohoo, that's a good class. You don't want to miss that one. And so, so what ends up happening, this is the best sex you'll ever have is face-to-face sex. It becomes when I get to the spirit, you'll understand that it actually your sexual act with your spouse before the Lord actually becomes an act of worship. A lot of us are not worshiping the Lord, we're worshiping something else. All right? And so again, doggy style, all that other stuff, don't avoid the face-to-face just to get to that, because that's communicating something to her. And you, it's also a reflection of you. I don't want you, I want your body. That's all I want. All right? I got to speed this up. I'm behind. Okay. Simple question. Besides the big three, what's wrong with premarital sex? Now, the big three, I have these conversations all the time. The big three is, it's a sin. And what about unwanted pregnancies? And what about STDs? I get this all the time. I've ministered to young people and whatnot. And I used to have this approach. It doesn't work. Because I said, it's a sin. They'll say, I don't believe in God, preacher. STDs, I wear a condom. There's penicillin there, preacher. I said, what about unwanted pregnancies, abortion, morning after pill? Now what? So I throw all that out the window. I don't need to talk about this stuff. Not the big three. I can tell you all kinds of things what's wrong with premarital sex. What is it? Go ahead.
More likely to get divorced.
Huh?
More likely to get divorced.
More like, what do you mean? You took a big leap there.
Because you're
He's exactly right.
Like commitment.
Lack of commitment, lack of patience. You're undisciplined. Basically, like the 14-year-old scenario I was giving you, what you guys should have said was, and the 14-year-old's probably going to do it anyway, but at least I want you educated to the point where when you leave here and you're going to do that thing anyway, you're going to know. You're going to know you're wrong on many, many levels. 1, did God say it was okay? 2, don't call that love, because if it was love, God would have approved of that. If God does not approve of it, I had a first sergeant in the brig years ago, and this first sergeant, he was in there because he had an orgy with all his female Marines, and he said, I'm not guilty. He was rough. He said, I'm not really guilty. And this is probably 10, 15 years ago. He said, I'm not really guilty. I said, why not? He said, it was consensual. I said, yeah, but God, and you're married. He said, and the other thing was, I loved them. I said, what do you mean you loved them? He said, I made sure they climaxed first. That's his definition, his standard of love. And I would always hit him with, did God say that was love? Did God approve of that? And he got pissed every time. Like, he's bringing up God in it because he's the measuring stick of morality. Make sense? Oh. All right. Yeah, we'll get to... What's your sexuality worth? Put a price tag on it. Go ahead. If you had to put a price tag on it, what would you say? What?
I couldn't.
Price tag. Is it valuable or is it cheap?
Valuable.
Are you sure? Valuable or cheap? Neither? Oh, it's valuable. A lot of people see, and we don't know. Go ahead. What are you going to say? Depends on the person?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, now on you could go to his phone and pay a subscription.
Say that again?
Now you could pay a subscription.
Subscription, mail order brides and all that stuff. My thing, what your sexuality is worth, I'm going to tell you right now, your sexuality is priceless. And you need to hear this. This is why I'm going to stress this to you as we wrap this class up here. Your sexuality is priceless. It's very, very valuable. But the problem is, because we don't understand the value of it, we treat it cheaply. We absolutely treat ourselves cheaply. We don't understand why. Years ago, I happened to be in a Fresno mall, and all the missionaries were there. Sandy and the ladies were shopping, and I sat down on a bench with some missionary friends, and we're sitting on this bench in the middle of the mall. And this lady sits right next to us. And this lady's, I forget, 35 years old, Hispanic lady, really nice. And she, because I talked to everybody, I started talking to her, and she said, a year ago, I tried to commit suicide on some retreat up on some mountain, and I overdosed, actually. I wasn't trying to commit suicide, but I almost died. And she said, the ambulance came to pick me up, and they put me in the ambulance, and going down the mountain, she said, the Spirit of the Lord showed up in the back of the ambulance, and the Spirit of the Lord showed me my worth. It changed my life. I didn't use drugs anymore. I went to church. I got baptized. I'm being discipled right now. She said, my life is, I have value. I know what I'm worth. And then she started telling me about her 14-year-old daughter. She has a 14-year-old daughter, and she said, my 14-year-old daughter, she said, I dropped out of high school from high school pregnancy. I have 3 daughters. The oldest one dropped out, high school pregnancy. The second one dropped out, high school pregnancy. The third one, not pregnant yet, but she's 14 and she's dating a senior. What's the writing on the wall? Another dropout. And the mom is crying, saying, if I could, I'm just praying and pleading to the Lord, just let one of my daughters make it through high school. And about that time, her daughter, a little brunette, 14-year-old brunette, and a blonde friend came walking up. And they're just tra-la-la walking up. And the first words out of my mouth, because I saw she was holding something in her hand. I said, what's that in your hand? And she said, it's a cell phone. I said, how much is that cell phone? She said, it's $50. I said, I'll give you $1 for it right now. She said, what? I said, I'll give you $1. She said, no. I'll give you $2. No. $3. No. $4. No. Final offer, $5. Take it or leave it. She said, no. I'm not going to sell this to you for $5. I said, why not? She said, it's worth more than $5. I said, what's your sexuality worth? And she was like, what? What? I said, what is your sexuality worth? And she's like, I don't know. And I got pissed. I said, how is it that you know the value of that stupid cell phone and you won't sell it cheaply, but you don't know the value of your sexuality? I said, I understand you're dating a senior right now. And you're probably toying with words of love and stuff like this. If this man really loved you, make him prove it. And he proves it to you with a ring and his life. That's what that sexuality is worth right there. That's what it's worth. No booty calls, one night stands, and I love you. Prove it. Marry me. That's what it's worth. And man, she was bawling. Her blonde friend was crying. We prayed with them, and the mom was crying and everything. It was a powerful moment. But this is what your sexuality is worth. And a lot of us, because we don't know this, not you guys. Where do all them other men spill their semen at while they're on UDP over here? Not you guys. You guys are going to be real quiet because you're going to know I'm talking about me. In the shower, in my sock, in a towel, in the field. I've had guys get caught at stoplights masturbating. Oh, don't act like, come on. I'm going to ask, but don't answer. How many of you have been standing in formation? Maybe it's a chain of command and you got a direction. Yuck. Don't play me. I know. Been there, done that. Dude, you guys have no idea. Okay, what's our sexual? You guys aren't doing very good. Okay, last question. Let me see. What's permissible in sex? What can you do in sex?
Everything except anal.
She says everything except anal. So, goats? Goats? Swinging partners and all this other stuff? See, what's permissible?
Are we talking only like
Oral, anal, huh?
only in like godly sex?
I'm asking. He's like, he gets out of that real quick. Yep. We'll get to this question. If you want a picture of that, so you can take a picture. It's going to, I'll send you the video, so if you just want to, just contact me later. All right? Okay, that's part one. You guys ready for part two? Okay, can you pause and start again?